Well, after 18 months preparation and a new boat, tomorrow or maybe the next day, if the weather files are right, we'll be heading off on the same course, leaving Catalina Island to port and headed for Hawaii, 2,300 nautical miles away. Everybody talks about the stress of the last few weeks of preparation, and they're right. Lists that grow to the size of the world of things you ought to do or need to get right away. 60 days worth of food. That ought to get one guy to the island of Oahu and back any day.
Don't worry about it.
But shouldn't you really have 90 days? The fact is that those lists become a psychological imperative, keeping you awake at night. They get longer, not shorter. Here's a box with every spare that I could think up. You know, things like impellers, zincs. Oh, we have a smart regulator, but why not carry a spare regulator, an ARS-3? It's old-fashioned, but it'll still work. Here's one of my favorite eccentric ideas involving a whole bunch of hardware store plated metal, wire clamps, bolts of every size. Oh yes, and drywall screws. Lots of drywall screws on a boat. Plus every piece of spare shackle or gear in your garage, because it won't do you any good back there when you're 1,000 miles at sea. Lots of wire and chafing gear, and this marvelous latex cloth from McMaster Carr. All the little things you won't have unless you bring with you, such as 100 useless hose clamps. Lumber. I always bring lots of lumber. This is a 38-foot Erickson, so I can fit almost an 8-foot long 2x4 in there, plus various sizes of plywood and even a spare rudder. The theory is that those drywall screws in an emergency could be used to screw pieces of plywood right onto a hull breach with one of the 2 battery-powered drills I carry. Oh, and I now have a way to climb the mast single-handed, a 4-to-1 tackle, and then the appropriate bosun's chair. Let's see if I can do it. I hope I don't have to. Oh, do I seem to be complaining about preparing for things that probably won't happen? Well, I comfort myself by saying not more than Sir Francis Chichester, who was the absolute master of it. You have to bring clothes. I have a duffel bag with 20 shirts, coats, underwear, warm clothes, cold clothes, 7 pairs of Bermuda shorts, foul weather gear, sea boots, which I'll never wear. It goes on and on and on, and it's just me. What if there was a crew of 6? The immediate needs of food go in a very handy locker on the Erickson 38 next to the stove. There's breakfast. We can cram other things like juices and stuff in there. The refrigerator I'm only going to use for about an hour a day. This is to save amp hours and energy and not have to charge the battery so much, but it's handy. This is a very important storage space on the boat, which this time, since I ran out of booze last time, I have surely filled. Tools. Got to have all the tools, including a saw. Forget cotton sheets. Fleece sheets on a boat are much better. They don't get damp. Fleece pillowcases, too. Got to have a pillowcase. After all, we're not giving up civilization, just land. A bookcase. And here's something that I devised for my own needs. Can't put anything down on a boat. This will hold a cup of coffee, a Diet Coke, a book, and a pencil. The Prudent Mariner in 2017 goes offshore with a Jordan Series drogue. This one loaned to me by my friend Ignacio Gonzalez of San Francisco. It's more than 300 feet of indestructible Dacron cones which trail behind the boat to slow you down and keep your stern into the wind in a gale, followed by 10 or 20 feet of chain as a weight. It stows in the quarter berth, which also contains a regular inflatable dinghy, my new emergency offshore life raft, self-inflating, a sea anchor, I always like to have one, that chain, and the Jordan Series drogue ready to go if necessary. Oh, and hatch sticks. In a storm, you'd be in the cabin, all sealed in, but you need something to keep the hatch from blasting open, and I devised these 2 pieces of mahogany and Velcro, which just stick up there and make it impossible for a wave to throw the hatch open. Well, what have I forgotten? Almost everything. A year's preparation condensed into 5 minutes. The grid files yesterday showed 40 knots, 50 miles offshore, but I think by Friday things will look better. I've done everything I could think of to make this boat safe. I think I know what I'm doing. I've done it before, and still. The last couple of weeks, they're harder than the first couple of weeks, I think. See you in Hawaii.